Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Chill it out, take it slow, then you rock out the show. It's VGC the Video Game Podcast, episode 165, with me, Jordan Midler, Chris Dring, and Andy Robinson. This week, we've been dancing in the Bullet Ballet, but first, how's it going, folks? Chris Dring, you look like the lead singer of an indie band with that cardigan on. How are you?
I've got it's a Zelda cardigan. It even look. I didn't realise the button. It's got Koroks all over it, and the button says "Yaha, you found me." I bought it from the San Francisco Nintendo store. I'm doing all right. It's 1 year. It's my anniversary of the game business.
And what is the game business?
It's a business podcast / video series /
What's it about?
Website. It's about it's about the business of video games. Yeah, we're a whole year old. We just did episode 100 this week as well. So it's
was that the one with you and Tatello?
No, that's technically 101. What was weird is when I launched, because I didn't want to launch with the way I do it, I do an interview on a Tuesday, so that's a big interview, and then on a Thursday I do the sort of news analysis show. And when I launched, I didn't want to launch with an interview. I wanted to launch with sort of a hello, this is who we are. So I sort of flipped the order when we launched, and so therefore it didn't quite work out that the 100. Tiller was my first guest. Stephen Tiller was my first guest on the game business back in March 2025, and I thought it'd be good to have him on for our anniversary episode. But yeah, it was so yeah, it's our anniversary. We've done a little promotion for get subscriptions, 20% off subscriptions, and it's been a good week for that. It's been all right. Good. I'm happy.
The thumbnail of you and Tatello superimposed in front of Mario and Luigi really made me laugh, because you two are the Mario and Luigi of internet gaming newsletters. Good stuff.
Wario and Waluigi, I'd say.
Yeah. No, Donaldson's Wario. We need a Waluigi. Like, now that all the you lot, well, maybe Jason, but you lot have all quit the mainstream and you're all doing your own little forks. Indie media is oversubscribed these days, don't you think so, Andy Robinson? We should get rid of them. He's muted. He's so raging at indie media. He's muted his mic.
It's good because I said something really obscene as well. I won't repeat here. Yeah.
Too many.
I agree.
Kick them out.
You said.
Stop the boats. How are you?
I'm okay. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
So that's positive. Do you know what? Like, I'm going to get judged for this, but I quite like the look of that KFC pickle burger.
I don't think that's the worst. I don't think that's the worst.
This is not a usual Friday lunch cheat meal for me, but I'm going to get that pickle meal. Did one of you two have that stupid flower? Because it just started talking. There we go. Yeah,
that flower's been on more podcasts than Chris Scullion at this point. Like that.
He thinks he's really cool.
I really love the flower. I can't describe it. The kids love it. My wife loves it. It's just, I bring it around. I bring it from the office to the home and back again. Like, it's my friend. The other day, I was getting the kids ready, and it's 9 a.m. in the morning. It's 8 a.m. in the morning, which is roughly when we leave to go to school. And the flower goes, "It's 9 a.m. And I honestly had a shat myself. I went, what?
Honestly.
And then the flower, okay. And then the flower, metaphorically. And then the flower said, sorry, 8 a.m. I almost threw it out the window.
That's unbelievable. Like, it's going to be in Pocopia. There is a mission to give Dragonite 5 alarm clocks for whatever reason. That's going to be Chris String's life. It's going to have 5 of these flowers all around his house. Those flowers are landfill, but as I said, I can't judge because my minuscule Game Boy is sat over there and will stay there forever.
I can, because I've got neither.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest, I wasn't planning. I was at the Nintendo store. I was buying this cardigan, and it was the day it came out. And then I was at the counter, and I was with Jamie Sefton, who owns Game Republic. He was there to buy the flower. And I was like, why are you buying the flower? What's it for? Why would you get it?
Yeah, that's different. You've put different modifiers on there, like abroad points.
Yep.
In the store, at the checkout points.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's a different context.
Yeah.
And then I'm about to buy it. I'm about to buy the thing, and she goes, "Would you like anything else?" And I went, "Can I have a flower, please?"
Yeah.
And then it's come home with it. But I don't regret that. I don't regret the flower.
It's like 25 quid in it. 25 quid in San Francisco is basically no money. So I could understand. Be like, okay, I either
is
get
it 25 quid?
Yeah, I think it's 25 quid.
Oh, let me
there we
look.
go. Yeah. I think it's a case of like San Francisco Airport, you're spending 25 quid on one sandwich and one can of juice. So getting a flower that shouts at you occasionally.
Hold on, I've just accidentally found a talking cactus.
Oh, come on,
on
now.
Amazon. My dog will love to hate this.
That's the thing. The dog will take it by the neck and throw it out the window. I don't think I've been on a podcast with you since it happened, Ringo, but very briefly, GDC, enjoy it, weird vibe. How was the US?
Actually, I didn't mind it. I actually thought they did quite a good job, the event organisers. There's only so much they can do, about who's in the White House and the
I think we could do
collapse
more, frankly.
Yeah.
and the collapse of the Californian games industry. But I thought the event was pretty good. Some of the sessions seemed pretty interesting. There were still lots of people there, like 20,000 people, still a lot of people. It didn't feel quiet. It felt a bit quieter. It's one of GDC. I always struggle when I go there as a journalist because despite the fact that I'm a business journalist, there isn't many people doing that many business interviews. And
you're a business journalist, Ringo.
And because my point being is you didn't go to GDC, and I understand why you wouldn't, because there isn't really much there. There's a few indie games and stuff. But I actually struggled to do that. But I spoke to so many people, and I got a lot of inspiration. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great mixer.
Did you go to the Xbox thing and just sit there and go, boo, shite, you're not putting that out, £1,000, no one's going to buy that.
I didn't go. I went to their event the day before the indie event, and they had a bunch of cool games there. I had one of those interviews of Xbox. They're really hard to do because they're so they're overly corporately trained PR, and it just sort of takes the personality out of some of their answers. I tried to work out what the return of Xbox means. That was part of the conversation. I cut the interview down, like halved it and stuck it in and put it as part of our news show. And even then, like I looked at it and thought, there isn't much there. But yeah, I appreciated the access, and it was good to see the games. It was nice to chat to them. And at one point, Asher Sharma and Phil Spencer strolled in and said hello to people. It was kind of nice. It was good,
Nice. Well, if you want to see Asher Sharma and Phil Spencer, you can come to VGC Live this October in Glasgow. Card subject to change, but you can get your tickets now on the website. Very exciting things happening. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but if you look into my eyes and read what we've been discussing about this morning, you're going to want to be there. October 16th, get there or be square. Christopher Dring, are you a confirmed attendee? I feel like I've seen your name on a list somewhere. You coming up to Glasgow?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
I'd like if you were a confirmed attendee.
That was the most hungry. He's like, oh, shit. When is that?
Shit, I didn't put it in the calendar.
October 16th. So confirmed, the Game Business Live will be opening for VGC Live. So if you want to...
with the Colonel.
if you want to head over to our lovely website, vgc.gg, you can buy your tickets. More information coming soon as to what you can expect, who you can expect. We know Alex Donaldson's going to be there. We know Chris Dring's going to be there. Who else could it be? Andy Robinson is a maybe. He's a strong maybe. I'm working on him.
I'm considering it.
Yeah, so buy your tickets and hopefully that'll convince Andy to get here. Speaking of monetization, patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle if you'd like to support a small independent outlet that really relies on Patreon to keep the lights on, the wheels spinning. You may have noticed that the games media landscape is a wasteland these days. Everyone's getting laid off, places are shutting. Even Chris Dring can't afford a more respectable cardigan. So if you want to support us at patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle, you can do that. And if people want to support the game business, Chris Dring, where can they do that?
At thegamebusiness.com.
At thegamebusiness.com. Although I'm pretty sure we're cheaper. And many wrestling podcasts on the games business? No, I don't think so.
There should be though. There should definitely be more wrestling. We should do more wrestling. I should do a wrestling spin-off podcast about the business of wrestling. Yeah, that
would actually be fascinating. I would like the ticket receipts and like how much it takes to run a show, things like that. That would actually be very interesting. Enough of the bollocks. Unfortunately, it's bad news time. Story number one. I'm sorry we're here again. Epic Games is laying off over 1,000 employees due to Fortnite downturn. In a note sent to staff on Tuesday, Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney partially blamed, quote, downturn in Fortnite engagement on the decision. The game's rocket racing, ballistic, and festival battle stage will soon be shut down, Epic also confirmed. Despite remaining, quote, one of the most successful games in the world, Fortnite has seen inconsistent engagement between seasons, Sweeney said. and is at early stages of returning to mobile following years of legal battles. Yeah, get ready for this one. Today we're laying off over 1,000 Epic employees. I'm sorry we hear again. The downturn in Fortnite engagement that we started in 2025 means we're spending significantly more than we're making, and we have to make major cuts to keep the company funded. This layoff, together with 500 million of identified cost savings in contracting, marketing, and closing some open roles, puts us in a more stable place. Chris Dring, I thought Fortnite was the game that everyone's playing, so the rest of the games industry doesn't make any money. How have we got here?
Well, there is a bit of the competition in the video game space. We talk about how games like Fortnite and everything sucking up all the hours out of the market. It's really hard for everyone has to fight harder. So every game is, they're having to be more innovative and more clever. That's true for everybody, whether you're an indie, whether you're a AAA developer making a single player game, or whether you're Fortnite. And Fortnite lost loads of players last year. Like, it was an element that 2020, at the end of 2023, you had like Fortnite OG, and you had things like the Lego Fortnite and all that kind of stuff happened. And that kind of made 2024 a really banner year for Fortnite. 2025 was hit and miss, with the exception of perhaps The Simpsons. It was a really sort of down year. It's just, I'm doing my market report for February, which will probably be out by the time this podcast goes out. But it's, I've got the numbers for Fortnite here, and it's down by like 4 million it's down 3.4 million over February 2025 in terms of players. So it's had a hit.
In terms of percentage?
I didn't write that down.
That's kind of important, right? That could be 100% of players, or it could be 1%.
Well, yeah, it's still number one. It's worth noting. We're still talking about like 40, over 30 million players. Like, it's still the king in the PC. And
so that's a rounding error, isn't it, for a game that launched whole new platforms, as you say, in 2024? I don't see how they can look at that and go, "Oh, sack everyone, sack 20% of our staff, 20+% of our staff." They're not like people in niche positions either. You look at some of these people who've gone, they're like some of their most important designer or the prolific designers in terms of what they've made for Fortnite. There's been like the lead artist on many of the most memorable seasons. There's been the designer of the cube and things like that.
The guy that designed Jonesy, the main character of Fortnite, like the face of the game has been kicked off. Like,
I mean, losing 10%, the margins are really tight for these games. The amount of money you have to spend, and you have to spend more and more and more and more every single year. The amount of the margins are really tight, and so when you lose like 10% of your player base, that's going to take a massive hit. But it's not just about Fortnite, right? Epic has been fighting the biggest companies in the video game space. They've been fighting Steam with the Epic Store. They've been fighting Google and Apple in the courtrooms, and they've been fighting Roblox with unrelated to Fortnite. And here's the thing: in a lot of those cases, they're losing those fights, or they're having to spend more and more and more in trying to keep up. Steam is yes, Epic Store's grown quite a bit, but Steam is just shooting ahead. The Google deal they just did wasn't amazing. Like, they've had it ultimately results in about a 5% benefit to studios. It's nothing too significant. And then you've got, what they're trying to do with trying to create a sort of more adult facing Roblox. It's not really working. It's working a bit. They're spending huge sums of money trying to do that, losing huge sums of money doing that. And then you factor in a decline in Fortnite that's not bankrolling that in the way that it was, maybe 2 years ago. The cuts are brutal, though, and I think this is the thing. Like, they talk about making $500 million in savings across things like marketing and stuff. Okay, they do mean that for 1 year. That's about the same as what Ubisoft are trying to cut over a 5-year period, right? It's a real sort of punch. It surprised me. It surprised me the level of the level that this is at. Cuts in the games industry doesn't surprise me anymore. But the fact this has come from Epic is quite the scale of it is pretty big.
I wanted to ask you, Dringo, like, how much of this is, so for example, they do this Tarantino thing, like, is if that doesn't hit, is that like a massive blow to them? Because presumably Quentin Tarantino's getting a lot of money. Uma Thurman gave her likeness, so she's getting a load of money. Does that stuff cost an absolute bomb, or is it less than maybe someone would think?
Well, yeah, I don't know how the deals are done, but I have to imagine that, yeah, by all these licensing agreements means not all the money that Fortnite's making is ending up in the pocket of Epic. And so, yeah, it's, and that stuff didn't really do anything. I think that's the, that's the thing. Yeah. It's, you know, if December was one of the weakest Decembers I've had in a little while. Well, we'll say this about Fortnite. Although 2025 was down on Fortnite, it wasn't much different compared to like 23 or 22. It was it's still the king.
And the crucial point I think you make, and I'm kind of surprised that I don't even think it's fair to say deflected, but the story is all about Fortnite and a lot of the cuts are on Fortnite. Because to me, the story, I mean, he mentions, Tim Sweeney mentioned this in his statement, that the story to me seems to be more about they're in these very expensive lawsuits, presumably involved in these. They have been spreading themselves very thin, seemingly, since the pandemic. Yeah. I mean, they're in like the film industry, and you know they're basically now getting in with Fortnite Festival. They're trying to get into other mediums and shut your flower up.
Yeah, throw that flower against
what's
the
he got to
fucking
say
wall.
about the layoffs? Yeah, but the thing someone sent this to me. And I can't get, like, their annual revenue is 5 to 6 billion, right? Epic. For 4,000 employees, that's 1.5 million generated per employee. And they have to lay off 1,000 people. I think if this happens to Epic Games and Fortnite, then what chance has everyone else got? And I appreciate their margins are, you know, probably razor thin, the fact that a lot of this stuff is being given away for free and they're relying on a small group. But at a certain point, you run out of things to say, right? It feels like we've been saying this for years and years and years, that it's like, well, we should lay off, let's not get involved in every, lawsuit that we can. Let's stop spending loads of money on Uma Thurman and these big, mature licenses to try and age up Fortnite. Let's stop trying to, license Sabrina Carpenter for our spin-off games and Lego and this. Let's lay off 1,000 staff, important staff, seemingly.
There's an interesting stat around this. So when Epic laid off, this comes from Stephen Totilo actually. When Epic laid off its staff in 2023, it announced it was cutting 16% of its staff, and it was going to be left with just over 4,000 employees. Right, and so it worked out. It was 860 or whatever. So really, they had just over 5,000 employees, and they dropped down to just over 4,000 employees. Now they're dropping down to just over 4,000 employees again. So between 2023 and 2026, they almost rehired everybody they laid off in 2023. I mean, not rehired the same people; it would have been different areas,
filled the roles,
departments. But they basically grew. Where's
that data come from? Out of interest, because I was looking at
Epic. So Epic originally said they laid off 860 employees. I'm trying to remember. I have it in front of me.
And yeah, I've got it somewhere.
And that was
800, 830, something like that.
And it was 16% of their employees. So you can work out from that.
I did that. Yeah. So
yeah. And then
830 employees.
And then Stephen asked Epic, how many, what's the size of the company? And they said it was just over 5,000. So they're going to just over 4,000. So actually, it's one of those, I don't know if this is what Epic's doing, and I imagine they're not hiring like for like, but the way it is in the US, you can just fire people. So if you sit there and you're losing loads of money, you can go, right, we're going to cut all those people, and then you can rehire them if it turns out you need
It's kind of almost worse that it's normalized cycle of hiring and firing, that this is just bravado almost. Hey, everyone, we're going to become more lean, and then we get them back, and then we'll do it again. We'll displace all these people. It's not a small place, right? Geography wise.
What's worse, and one thing that was pointed out to me is obviously the other big cuts that happened last week was the Red Storm. It's the same city as Epic. It's both the same. It's the local dev scene. There's just had two massive job losses. But the thing is with I don't know. There is an argument to be said that because the US can make cuts really quickly, if things aren't working out, they're more likely to try things. They're more likely to go, let's give that thing a go, and if it doesn't work out, we'll just pull out of it. Whereas in other countries, you're probably less likely to take that risk because you know that if you decide it doesn't work out, you still have to pay X amount and all this kind of thing. You've got to put people from consultancy in Europe for 3 months or whatever, and that kind of thing. So that makes people perhaps a little bit more risk averse in other markets than they do in the US. But then, you're not treated like numbers on a spreadsheet quite so much.
Yeah. United States of America, obviously famous for its risky AAA.
Yes.
Well, our thoughts go to the people laid off. What an absolute mess. Moving to the next story, another Cheery one. Dark Outlaw Games founder says it, quote, fucking sucks that Sony closed his studio, but the games are scrapped all the time. Earlier this week, it emerged that PlayStation had closed down the studio, which had only been formed last year by former COD Zombies lead Jason Blundell. If you don't remember this, we did a story on this last year. They announced this studio in an interesting way. They kind of said they were doing it. Blundell was on a friend of the show, Jeff Gersman's podcast, to chat about it. It seemed like it was a kind of wet work situation. They were just getting spun up, and now it has closed. Appearing as a guest on the Twitch stream of the game's level designer, JC Farmer, Blundell gave his views on the situation, saying it fucking sucks that the studio was closed down, but that such situations are expected. Quote, "Are we disappointed? Yeah, I mean, we're laughing and joking, but you're depressed, you're sad, you're going to mourn what could have been, because we were making a hell of a game." Elsewhere in the stream, Blundell emphasized that the quality of the game itself wasn't in question and that cancellations like this happen all the time. Quote, "The thing that's hard is everything before this point was all glowing. What we were doing was all good, but it's a big company. Decisions have to be made, and I totally respect that." So, Andy, what do you think of this? Because elsewhere, they also confirmed this wasn't a live service situation, so I know a lot of people were pointing at that potential, but Sony seems to be tightening the belt and refocusing on maybe what worked in the past.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that time of the year, doesn't it? Where, we've had this and Bluepoint in the last month. I think they've just closed a VFX company, quite a famous VFX company they acquired in the pandemic that worked on Game of Thrones and a few other big properties. They've cancelled their Honda car.
Boo.
I mean, they've talked about this for a probably best part of a year but they're a bit more quiet on it, on this saving cost cutting program that they've had in the background. So they have been kind of doing this for a while, like every company, I guess. I'd say this is my concern. I'd love to know Chris's thought on this. Is that there's a lot of expectation that their hardware prices are going to go up, this year quite significantly, and that maybe this is less to do with how they've more about the coming storm that they foresee, that at some point whatever contracts they have for components for all their many kind of consumer electronics is going to come to an end, and then they're kind of knackered.
Yeah, I think the thing is, with the way the games market is right now, the audience, if it's interesting, I've just done February's market data, and it looks good because Resident Evil Requiem did good and subscription services did good. But even that is led to a 1% increase in sales. And so that means everyone else must have had a horrible time in the US. I've just gone through it, and the answer is yes. The whole market really had a brutal time. We're not getting more players. We're certainly not getting more people playing. So you're in a really competitive marketplace now. So in order to stand out, in order for people to come, your game has to do something unique, has to be special, has to make gamers feel something that they're not getting anywhere else because they're playing all these other games. There's all this competition out there. So if you sit there and you commission a project like Blundell's project, and you're seeing it, even if it's good, it could be great. You could sit there thinking, yeah, but it's just not, we're going to struggle to cut through with this. Now, do we continue to spend 100 million on this thinking that it's probably not going to work? Or do we just cut it now and put the money into something that we think will work? And that's what's happening. There are a lot more, the chance of success is so much smaller now that people are being a lot harsher with these decisions. I think the closure of Bluepoint is probably because their game, they felt the same way. And that's the sort of journey it goes on. Obviously there's these component price challenges, but ultimately if you're a studio working on a game that Sony thinks is going to work, they'll keep funding it. And that's the brutality of the market at the moment. Obviously there is this talk about price rises on PlayStation, because of the component crisis, which I think's miserable situation, because they can get away. It's not a case of them getting away with it. They might have taken a massive hit on PlayStation 5 if there was somebody snapping at their heels, if there was an Xbox sort of coming after them. They're going, we can't lower the price or we'll lose market share. But the reality is they won't. In fact, they'll probably gain it because Fable is going to be on PlayStation and Forza is going to be on PlayStation. So the need to sort of take that hit isn't there anymore. And I think, but ultimately that lack of competition in the console space is only going to hurt the console market overall. So yeah, PlayStation are probably going to end this generation. They're already, this is their most profitable, the most biggest revenue generation they've ever had already. And when they get to the end of it, they'll probably have sold more consoles than they sold the last generation, even at these inflated, even at these higher prices.
Andy, I wanted to ask you about kind of PlayStation's report card from the perspective of fans, because obviously we'll talk about it later, but I went to Housemarque, played a lot of Saros. That game seems like it's going to be great. Wolverine this year, obviously no one's played it, but it's from Insomniac. You would probably bet the house on that being pretty decent. But outside of that, the games that have kind of made PlayStation and brought them this huge amount of fandom, they're very much like not seemingly a focus the past couple of years. But do you think that this, like the move away from PC and things like that, are maybe suggesting that Sony might double back down on more first party things? Or do you think those games are just too expensive to put out in a PS4 style cadence?
Probably the latter. You can't imagine that they're suddenly going to start spitting out, smaller experiences. I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting couple of years, right? I think the big part of their next gen strategy is a handheld, and then that kind of changes things a little bit potentially if they're moving into a hybrid space. So apparently the next console is going to be fairly powerful, like fairly capable of playing kind of current gen games in a kind of Switch hybrid docky kind of sense. So that opens them up to more people potentially, right? More hours in the day.
Do you think they go back to, when they have that situation, do you think there's any chance they go back to more catalogue titles? Because this is the thing I see from PlayStation fans over and over again.
I mean, I've said this before. They're working, there's some catalogue stuff being worked on that I know about, 100%. So that is happening. I think maybe this lull that we're seeing, it's not even a lull. Look, they've been in a cadence of like 2 big games a year, right?
Yeah.
They got Saris and Wolverine this year. Last year they had Yotte and Marathon. Okay. And last year they had Yotte and
Death Stranding
too. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
I mean, you look how much money Xbox has to spend to get. I mean, Xbox is absolutely has the best first party lineup for the last couple of years, but they've had to spend a lot of money, and cut a lot of people to get to that point. But
also they're a third party. Like, I know they've got a console, but whenever I see headlines like Xbox had a higher Metacritic thing than Sony, I'm like, why are you not comparing them to EA? I think
even if you do, they're still the number one.
Oh yeah, they are number one, but they're number one in the sense that
they have the best. They just have. I'm just mean general, like sentiment. They're putting out the best lineup of games at the moment.
Yeah, and I guess I was saying this, Jordan, before we press record. To most PlayStation fans, you take out the fanboys, Resident Evil is a PlayStation game.
Yeah.
Forza Horizon's a PlayStation game.
And that's probably, that's how Sony view it as well, right? I mean, they're not particularly worried about, we gotta, plunge hundreds more millions in to get these first. They don't need to, because they're making, a 30% cut off of all of those Resident Evil sales, off of, all of whatever the hit of the year is. They're making GTA, that money. I mean, we've said this a million times. Their thing was always about supplementing and not treading on what the third party is doing on their platform.
Yeah. And I think the idea of PlayStation having 2 or 3 big games every year is probably all they need to have. They don't need to be fighting. They don't need to be fighting in these sort of smaller niche indie space, because there's tons of indies doing that. And they probably don't feel they need to be fighting. Even, I guess, we probably feel they don't need to be fighting in the live service space either. Because
no, I think probably with the state of the industry right now, and the troubles they've had trying to branch into live service, that probably makes their offering even more unique. That they make the big blockbuster single player games, right? I mean, we were saying this. God, how many years ago is it now? 6 years ago since it launched, since PS5 launched. Yeah. This is the blockbuster machine, right? This is who they are.
Yeah,
and I think probably it's even more unique now than it was then.
Yeah.
Well, what I find funny about that is this year feels like a very good PlayStation year, not because of Saros, yes, because of Wolverine, but you look at GTA is a very cinematic game. James Bond is a very cinematic game. Resident Evil is a very cinematic game. Tomb Raider is a very cinematic game. There's a lot of nostalgia in there as well. But that's there's a lot of games coming out this year that they're on every platform, but they're probably going to do best on PlayStation, because that's why the people who own that machine, that's, well, not all of them, but a lot of the people who own that machine, they get it because of that cinematic.
I think about this a lot at the moment, like in terms of our coverage, and I hit this on this last year, is that in kind of Xbox evolving into what it is, and you've seen like a lot of fan sites and, kind of like, step away from Xbox, and you've seen like Digital Foundry, for example, cover Xbox less, because they've kind of like read the room and said, well, these guys, we're not getting the traffic that we used to from Xbox. They're not really a platform in the traditional sense. As well, that's the direction of travel, right? That's what it feels like. I do wonder sometimes whether we need to change like our own mindsets when we talk about that. It's like I hear you say that there, when it's like, most games sell, best on PS5, and I just have to double check myself. Like, does anything sell best on Xbox now?
Percentage.
It feels like to me day in day. This is something from my work, right? My work hat. When we're covering stuff like, oh, this game's coming to Xbox, which would have been a banker story that we do a couple of years ago. Whereas now it's sort of like it's increasingly not becoming that different from writing, this game's coming to GeForce Now. I mean, I know that's not an unfair comparison, but you see what I mean, that it's not like an absolute banker.
I think there is also a truth to for a lot of indie developers, Xbox is the last, not a lot, some indie developers, Xbox is the last console on the list. Right? It's like, we've got to get it to these platforms. That's the smallest platform.
And to be fair, like, I mean, I update our release list, that we've started doing a release list, right? And I update it and there's not that many games that aren't coming to Xbox.
Yeah. It's like this.
Everything's still releasing on Xbox.
Sometimes it releases. Like Dispatch has just been announced for Xbox, isn't it? But there's a few things. If it's in Game Pass, you might see the game do better numbers wise in terms of player count on an Xbox. Also, live service games do really well on Xbox. So even though, yes, they'll probably do better on PlayStation, the gap between Xbox and PlayStation isn't often that significant, because Xbox players, I know it's a really old school thing, but looks like Nintendo is often seen, Nintendo's often seen as a sort of one for families and kids. PlayStation is the single player sort of console. Xbox is still, I guess, seen as the multiplayer machine.
I mean, what were the estimated marathon numbers? It was 19% PS5 and 11% Xbox.
Yeah,
so not a world of difference.
I don't know. That's a linear analytics, and I don't know how good that data is, but that's sort of generally what you see. That actually Xbox isn't as far off as you might think, particularly for those sort of Western focused online shooter games, because I guess because of the history of Halo and the history of Call of Duty and the history of all that kind of thing. But yeah, I've forgotten what we were talking about.
I mean, we're just a general guff.
I just got a bit sad thinking about Halo 3 and thinking about Halo and the Xbox 360. I
think we miss competition. That's what we miss. I mean, that's not good for anyone.
The Xbox is returning. I don't know where it's gone. I don't know
if you've heard.
I don't know where it's returned from, but I didn't realize it had gone away. But it's returning. I have to say, I do like it I guess I'm aware that I'm just, to use one of your comments on these podcasts, one of those old bastards. But I do like the idea that it's a Gears of War, Halo, Fable, Forza year for Xbox. None of this Call of Duty and Starfield.
I totally agree.
Tony Hawk's bullshit.
I think
Give me those.
Well, Tony Hawk hold the line there, but
I love it, but just that's not Xbox.
I think
that's
they should. Xbox. Quintuple down on bringing back the Xbox 360 vibe. That was the only time they were ever cool. It was the only time they were ever successful. They need to capture the lightning in the bottle of 2006 and then they'll be flying.
I think the problem is, and I know Asher Sharma's comment suggests they want to get back to that rebellious nature of Xbox, but I think that's going to be hard to do.
Get your face plates out for the lads. That's what we're waiting. There we go. The Xbox Live Strong band.
Yeah, to this day, seriously, how many USBs you got in your drawer, Dringo? Just various USBs.
Well, the thing is with Xbox back then is they were in their separate building with the Jolly Roger flag flying over. The Millennium Building, it was called. They were just the rebels, the kids down the road, right? And now they've spent $70 billion on Activision. You are being overseen by Amy Hood.
Yeah.
and you can sit there and say you want to be rebellious, but I don't know how easy that is to be.
Well, you're not doing that within Microsoft, especially not these days, right?
Yeah, not if you spent that amount of money and you're getting that much scrutiny. I think that's tough. But hey, Hopefully.
Because Microsoft's Satya Nadella's AI security guard will come and chop your head off. Right, very quickly before the break, because I simply can't take talking about this too long. Fox McCloud is officially appearing in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Now, you might be asking, who is Fox McCloud? He's a character from...
Who's asking that?
Well, people are probably asking that because he's not appeared since...
The guy on the podcast who was 10 when his last game came out.
Excuse me, I've got a Starlink Battle for Atlas somewhere in that.
That was the last game, yeah.
The last game, Starlink Battle for Atlas. Look, they put out a poster. Show the dog's buzzing. The dog's
Star Fox is here right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Fox McCloud. Yeah, he's in the film. I'm going to say who cares, but the people that staff this website care.
Have you seen the numbers on that tweet?
I know.
Have you seen the numbers?
Old bastard.
Like, I mean, we kind of all were a little bit astounded about why they didn't leave this. Like, this is
Fox McCloud has a comment.
This is days before the film comes out.
Yeah.
And they've decided to announce it on social media. Like, no fun fact, just here's about, like, think about the number of ways they could have done this, right? Yeah. If they're like, we're a bit worried it's going to leak, or whatever, they could just do a tease. That's as good as, like, everyone knew that Tobey Maguire and is that right name? Is Tobey Maguire, isn't it? The other Spider-Man, in Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, right? They knew that they were going to be in that film, but you still had to go and see them, right? You had to go and see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, they could have just teased this. It could have been like his foot or something, you know? And people would, I just don't get why they've done it. But you look at the social numbers and you're like, okay, yeah, I understand why.
And here he is right now, Fox McCloud. Welcome to the podcast.
Right,
congratulations on being in the 2 out of 5 Super Mario Galaxy film. Chris Dring, our movie reporter, how are you feeling about this? I tell you what is I always found Nintendo were very strict about what is classed as a Mario character and what isn't. Right, I've always felt that there was the exception of the DLC they did for Mario Kart 8. You wouldn't get a character in Mario Kart that hadn't been somehow connected to the Mario universe, whether it's a Donkey Kong or whatever. So the fact that they've put Fox into this film, I think, makes Star Fox officially part of the Mario universe. So now I'm thinking, right, the Mario Galaxy, if you will.
Exactly.
See you later, folks.
And so I'm looking forward to
maybe that's like a what was it called? The New Avengers, the Expendables, was it?
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts?
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah, Thunderbolts?
Yeah.
I called it Expendables. That's the
old man
Schwarzenegger
film.
thing, isn't it? The old man film, yeah. Maybe it's at the end, like it crossed out and this is the Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
That's the name of their universe.
Does that mean that the Mario Kart, world update that we're going to get is going to be set in space and everyone's flying our wings around and racing around in our wings? Are we going to get Pikmin levels in? I think Pikmin's in the film as well.
I was going to say Pikmin's and Pikmin is in the Mario, whatever that new one's called, DLC, the Bella Bell Park. I'm pretty sure it is in that. So
which Andy loves so much.
Yeah, Andy. He actually he tried to give it 6 stars, but the website wouldn't allow it. So
it somehow changed the score.
Yeah.
And it's there. But you think when you start doing, it's not that obviously. It's interesting to see Fox McCloud be included in this film. Why? You quite rightly point out. No, but I love Star Fox.
I agree.
Star Fox.
Why?
I've got a poster here. I love Star Fox. I love Lilac Wars. Or Star Winged, for us in the UK. But it's not a strong IP. It's never been a big seller. Is it just Miyamoto's ego? I actually suspect there must be something coming.
Dun 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 dun. And no,
they don't do this in isolation. Yeah, they don't. It's not a mistake, right? I mean, Nintendo for the best part of the last decade plus have been a licensing IP business. They're a different company, and these decisions aren't. No one goes, should we just put Fox McCloud in? Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that, right? Everything is aligned. I mean, Donkey Kong going into the first film was to set up, bringing the IP back, a new game. There's going to be a Donkey Kong movie coming as well.
Yeah.
This signal, him being in there signals very clearly to me that that's what they're looking to do, right? Probably, back in the Marvel days, I bet they didn't think that some of their IPs were particularly, massive, right? Like Iron Man and, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And they absolutely exploded, in film form. So who knows? I think Star Fox lends itself very, very well.
So who's voicing them?
The anime they did.
Who's voicing them? That's the question.
I did a gag casting on X that went fairly viral of Harrison Ford as Falco.
That'd be good. Yeah.
My little boy has been playing Astrobot, and the level that he's finished it now, 100%ed it. But what he goes back to is that level, that's the Star Fox level, the final fight where you fly the thing. Goes back to it over and over and over again. And I just said to him, "There's a game, by the way, that's the whole game." And he was like, "Oh,
he must be playing that game, going like, who are any of these people? Who are these robots that I'm rescuing?" Because all that stuff's
but he does the thing is, I'm not contrary to the internet's belief, I'm not a PlayStation person. So he keeps wandering around that hub world, and he keeps saying, "Who's this one from? Who's this one from?" But I can obviously get Crash Bandicoot and Resident Evil and certain ones of them. But I'm like, I know some Japanese RPG. It's 11 a.m. by the way.
I'm not buying that.
I think we've already got him enough work, but Star Fox appears in the movie. He comes down and he goes, "Hi, I'm Star Fox." And it's Ben Starr. He's finally ascended to the point where he's a proper film star. He's playing Star Fox. That Mario video he did.
Do a barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll. Mario, you're a little dobber.
I thought I saw a Variety article saying it was Roger Craig Smith, but I can't find it now. Was it a fake one?
Was that a leak? Chris Dring got a phone call from Shigsy saying it's Roger Craig. Chris Dring was actually with those influencers at the Nintendo Museum in Japan watching the film, hanging about with the cast. The cast looked absolutely gutted to be hanging about with all those influencers. So, oh, God love them all. Well, the Super Mario Galaxy movie is something we're going to have to contend with. We're all going to see it. The first podcast after that film comes out is going to be a total write-off, while I tell Chris Scullion that it's a 1 out of 5 film and he bursts into tears. But
I've got the first showing on the first day at my local cinema.
And I'll be honest, I've booked every seat. No one else is allowed to come in. All my Mario toys are going to get a seat.
Genuinely, the only reason why I've booked it is because it's the Easter holidays next week, and I've got my eldest. He's extremely excited about the film, so we're going on the Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, let me know your saddest movie experience in the Discord. When we come back, we'll be talking about Nintendo Switch 2 demand, and I'll talk a little bit about Finland. We'll see you in a minute. And we are back. Despite the excitement over Fox McCloud being in the Mario movie, Nintendo is reportedly cutting Switch 2 production this quarter as US demand dips. According to sources speaking to Bloomberg, the company plans to produce 4 million Switch 2 consoles during this quarter instead of the 6 million it had originally planned to produce. What an absolute flop. It's the Ouya 2. While the Switch 2 remains extremely popular in its native Japan, this was the only market that experienced severe stock shortages. In the US, following a record-breaking launch, Switch 2 sales slowed over Christmas and ended up down by 35% compared to the original Switch during its first Christmas period. Chris Dring, Nintendo in the mud. What's going on here? What's the actual story here?
Well, believe the internet, it's the Wii U all over again. Ignore the fact it's already outsold the Wii U. Nintendo. It's not just Nintendo. Companies often have to, tweak and change their production pipelines depending on, Nintendo would have tweaked it up initially when they expected it to do better. They're by the way, they're still on course to hit their target for the year. They've already beaten their initial target for the financial year. And then they just sort of tweak it down again. It's not too unusual. Actually, I have to say, when it was 4 million for the quarters that we're in at the moment is a lot, let alone 6 million. So there was a few things that eyebrow raises to that story in the first place. But actually, it is true. It is softer in international markets outside of Japan than it is, particularly in the US, than it is, as I say, in Japan. It's not that soft, though. It's not like it's collapsed. It's still selling pretty well. The word, to quote Matt Piscatella, who runs the data company Sakano, is like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I did my big piece this week was literally diving into all the numbers on Switch 2 and what the truth is. And what we saw is this huge. What I think we probably saw is what we call a pulling forward of sales. So Switch 1 came out and was in stock. Was in the first year it was short of stock. So every time stock came out, they sold out. So over the course of the year, when it got to Christmas, when they also released a big game, which Nintendo didn't do this last Christmas, you had a situation where people would wanted a Switch, hadn't bought one yet because they've been sold out or whatever. And then you have Mario Odyssey come out and it did a huge jump in sales. So the fact that, and I reported on it, I'm aware that I'm responsible for the story in the first place, that the sales were down in the US over Christmas compared to Switch 1. There's a few good reasons for that. One, we think it pulled, it just had, the sales were front loaded because there was so much stock at launch and they didn't have a big game out. Nintendo still have almost all their trump cards to play. Yep. They've still got Mario to play.
And I think increasingly historic data is kind of not as useful as it used to be, right? I mean, this is, as you say, it's unprecedented where you've had a console launch earlier in the year in the summer with that much stock, and that much demand. So it has pushed forward those sales probably. I find it fascinating how not fascinating. It's the least fascinating thing of all time, probably, that Japan's been a Nintendo stronghold for like best part of 20 years now. But just how well it's doing and how they've kind of subsidized that with a cheaper price. And I saw this the other day and I still don't know if this is a typo. Has Pocopia sold 7.5 million units in Japan?
No, that's 750,000.
Oh, so it is a typo. I was in bed. It was 1 a.m. I was like, how does that even work? They've not sold like half of their install base maybe.
It's that, and that's also the physical copies. Overall, it's done more than that. Because it's done over 1 million in Japan now, probably close to 1.5 million. There is a reason for concern around Nintendo, but it's not necessarily the current issue. So in the US, we had Matt Piscatella from Sakana came on our live show we did in June, and he shared some data. He said that 44% of US consumers were cutting back, this is from a survey they did, on non-essential items such as games due to concerns around rising prices of essential items like food and energy. 46% also they were putting off big purchases due to concerns about the economy. So you've got the US consumers, and you've probably got this worldwide, to be fair, going, we're not going to spend as much money on games, we're not going to spend much money on games machines because of the economic situation. Now, that's probably not going to affect early adopters who really want that machine and they'll buy it, but it's going to hit Nintendo down the line. Nintendo then don't have any really also, in addition to that, Nintendo have no room for maneuver because the component cost price rises means that they can't really do anything about the value of their machine. They can't make the games cheaper. They can't make the accessories cheaper. They can't make the console cheaper. It's really hard for them to do anything to be able to compensate for that. So that's causing lots of concerns for investors. But also, we don't know what their lineup is. And we talk about the fact that, games sell consoles and Nintendo games in particular sell Nintendo consoles.
I mean, look at how many, just even anecdotally, how many people kind of went and got one for Pocopia. Yep. And, the situation, you were seeing a lot of photos of empty shelves and stuff. And it'll be interesting to see how it actually did in their financials. Yeah,
we'll say 2.2 million units in 5 days for a Pokemon spin-off is unheard of generally. And I can see from some of the European data that came in, it caused, in some cases, 80% plus increase in console sales week on week. You can see the numbers, the jump it did in Japan. Games sell consoles. What does Nintendo have out? We had Pocopia that did very well. What's next? Is it? I mean, I'm assuming Star Fox, but is it? It's not Fire Emblem, is it? I mean,
surely there's a Mario this year. Is that the thing that we're missing here? Like the word is. No,
we're missing a tier, A team Nintendo game. I don't know if we've said this on the pod before. Probably have. Keza McDonald, friend of the show, has a theory, and we both think she's right. That Switch 2 was supposed to launch in 2023. And you go back and you look, because me and this is a really sad old man. So, but it's technically my job. When the Mario Tennis reviews came out, I just had like an analysis. It feels like their reviews have been trending kind of down for a while. That was the vibe, right? Like, I thought Mario Kart World wasn't as good as it should have been. Personally, I think that Donkey Kong wasn't as good as it should have been, although its reviews were very good. So I went through and I collated all of Nintendo's Metacritic scores for the last 5 years. And I spoke to Stephen Tosillo, and he'd already been doing the same thing. Like, just, yeah, I do that. But anyway, what that really highlights doing that is, wow, 2023 was such a big year. You know, you look at, like, in terms of just pure Metacritic scores, but they had Tears of the Kingdom. I think they had Mario Wonder. Did they have Pikmin 4 as well?
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, but it was very clear from this. They had a load of big games. And one thing is almost certain. I mean, they've definitely pushed this system back, right? Because of the popularity of Switch, because of the pandemic. So it's not a wild theory. And certainly I'd heard some chatter at the time that some software might have been moved. So maybe that's where we're at. You know, maybe they were the launch games.
Well, you think
but you need to look at the last console, right, Chris? You know this, like their whole strategy, Nintendo's last strategy around the Switch, very different situation. Of course, they're coming off of their biggest ever failure, whereas they're coming off of their biggest ever success. The strategy with Switch was that they were going to have every franchise represented within the first 12 months.
Yeah, and they launched with a Zelda, and they finished the year with a Mario. And you think if they just launched, if it was 2023, it was planned for, and Tears of the Kingdom was going to be the launch game, and they ended the year with Mario Wonder. It's the same.
So they are for me. I think we just, especially with, I mean, I guess we'll get to it now. I reviewed Mario Wonder Switch 2 edition this week.
You loved it.
I think everyone's sick and tired of these Switch 2 editions now. And I love Mario Wonder. It's one of my favorite modern Nintendo games. Love it. Probably it's certainly my favorite side scroller Mario game, 2D Mario game since, if you don't include Mario Maker, since like Yoshi's Island, maybe. So that's, what's that, 25 years? Maybe more, 30 years? It's an amazing game. But the add-on just feels so workman-like. So as someone who's worked on platformers, you can kind of see where they've sat down and gone, which I guess what these expansions are, right? That they've sat down and gone, what can we produce cheaply, that's not going to be disruptive?
I agree with you.
And stick into an expansion. And it's like it reuses the existing mechanics and the existing levels. And there's like some multiplayer stuff that you can't play unless you, in typical Nintendo fashion, there's no online matchmaking. And even if when you do find friends online, you can only play 6 of the 20 odd games. So the majority of the content, certainly the best content, you can only play with people physically in the room with you.
I think it's more cynical than that because I'm
glad you said it.
I've downloaded.
This there's a Mario movie, of course.
I've just downloaded the game. So I spent £17 on it for a couple of reasons. My son loves Rosalina, right? And he's really excited about the movie. He's got the Rosalina.
He's going to be gutted when she's killed off in the first place.
Fox McCloud, double tap. Take this, Rosalina. Boom.
And so when he kept saying, "Can I play as Rosalina on this?" And I went, he literally asked me this yesterday. He started to play Wonder, and I've just gone, you can actually. But also because Mario Movie is going to speak to younger kids and it's going to speak to parents, adding multiplayer components to that game is a good thing to do. It's added the assist mode because Wonder was a bit hard for Teddy. And so I've managed to put the assist mode on. Whenever he gets stuck, I said, just put that on. It'll get through the level. And it is it's a lot more family friendly, a lot more mainstream, which I think is designed simply to tie in with the film.
All of the this is my 39-year-old Nintendo nerd review. If you're a young family or young kids, it's a completely different scenario. The game, they'll love the games. The content is very easy and tailored to young kids. The accessibility options are great. I totally agree. It feels cynical in that way, that they need something to flog on Switch 2 in this time. And it kind of is representative of like what my issue with Nintendo for a little while now is that they are just a little bit more Disney, aren't they? They're a little bit more cynical, a little bit more like stuff I think is going out a little bit less cooked than it would have been in the past. Nintendo were a toy company, and this is the Nintendo that I grew up with and I love. They're a toy company, they're an engineering company, whereas now it doesn't feel like that. And I think it'll be very telling if there is a Star Fox game this year.
I think that makes it more.
I know Imamura-san. I've been to dinner with him a few times. The creator of the Star Fox characters who left Nintendo because he told me if there was a Star Fox game being worked on, he would have stayed. So he was kind of frustrated. And I remember asking him why are there? Why has it been 10 years since the last Star Fox and 20 years since the last F-Zero? And yet you have other Nintendo franchises like Yoshi, Fire Emblem, Kirby, whatever. That's more iterative, right? Like, because the answer you always get from Nintendo, from Miyamoto, is that we haven't got an idea yet. You know, the reason there's another F-Zero because we haven't come up with an idea to bring it back. And he said to me that, well, these are Mr. Miyamoto's standards. These are his franchises, and he does not want to bring them back unless there's a new innovative. And that's what Nintendo always was, right? You bring Mario Karts now, you know, where there's going to be, you know, 2 guys on each kart, and you know it's 3D, and then slowly it becomes. But even with Mario Kart, okay, Mario Kart's still got a big idea. But if there's a Star Fox this year, unless they're going to pull one out of the bag, like some mad idea, that's a bit of a signal, right? That they've changed there. Well, we've got a film and we need to support it with a game, and we can do something a little bit more conservative. Which is fine, by the way. I think a lot of fans, it is also in a way fine, because a lot of fans have been frustrated by that. Like, will you just give me another F-Zero GX? Just give me another Star Fox 64?
I know those are Nintendo's creative answers and they're great, but I think there's also a slightly commercial answer to why that's the case. So if you in most of Nintendo's audience, the majority of people that buy Nintendo consoles are not like me and you, Andy. They're not hardcore Nintendo fans that are quite happy.
What?
They're quite happy with getting the previous generation's game better, stronger, and faster. They go, right, why would people buy another Mario Kart when they've got the last one? And that is, you get that, you know, parents going, Mum, can I get the new Mario Kart? What's wrong with the one you got? Right? That's a thing that Nintendo has to deal with. So they do feel like, from even a business point of view, the game needs to do something the last one didn't. If you haven't had a game for 15, 20 years, there's a far more justification to go, actually, you know, people just haven't had one for a very long time. We can just dust it off and remake it. Nintendo remakes shit all the time. I actually think they're more like a toy company than they've ever been. And there are moments in their history where they have gone, I think about the beginning of the GameCube, when they realized that they were falling behind PlayStation, and thought the solution to that was to pump out games faster. And they were cutting, you know, they cut dungeons from Wind Waker. They made Mario Sunshine faster. That was their strategy then. I don't think they're doing that now. If anything, looking at the lineup of games they've got, they're actually probably being a bit deliberately slow on it.
But I also think the games they're putting out are far more conservative than that era anyway.
Yeah, they are.
They've just put out a system that is 1.5 of the last one.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I've got the same feeling as you do, but then I also think Donkey Kong Bonanza's actually, from the pure gameplay mechanic of it, is quite different to what Nintendo's done before. Dragon Drive was a bit bonkers. And then Kirby's
who's not talking about Dragon Drive? Everybody's talking about it. It's the hit of the year.
I've got it running right here.
They're not the biggest things in the world, but they do contradict that narrative, right? And they do, you know.
Well, they don't, do they?
Well, they just literally did.
It's got going, well, Saddam Hussein done a lot of bad stuff, but he also had donated to charities.
I just named 3 games they released in 6 months, which were a bit bonkers, right? Which weren't conservative. They did a remake of one of their worst received Kirby games, or remakes, a sequel to it. It is, some of the stuff they do is, you know, some of the stuff they do is taking Mario Wonder and adding some bits to it is conservative. You know, doing a worse version of Xenoblade Chronicles as a Switch 2 edition is like, what are you doing? But then they go, oh, here's a game that's basketball, wheelchair basketball, and here's a Donkey Kong game where actually it's not really a platform at all. You smash everything to pieces, and here's here's a sequel to Kirby's Air Ride, right? And we're going to go big at it, and it's going to be our big November game. And so there is, and don't be wrong, none of that was good enough, really. I
don't think it's indicative of like a big strategy either. I think Donkey Kong is clearly, they need to that to me is way more driven by the IP, right? Way more indicative of the movie, the setup we were talking about earlier. They needed to bring that IP back and reestablish it for that audience. I respectfully disagree that it's this big new idea. Donkey Kong, it's Mario Wonder with punching and bricks, and punching bricks is the shittest bit. You know, Kirby Air Ride is Sakurai is keeping Sakurai on side. I don't think it's, look, we should do a sequel to
here's
this.
The thing, have you read there's a Zelda historian that writes about how Nintendo approach Zelda games, and what surprises me when I read them is how cynical that is. They literally look at what's popular in the market, what people are doing, and they go, let's make sure we follow that. Open world's the thing. We'll move into this. They do it when Wind Waker didn't sell.
I think Zelda's been having this existential crisis for a long time, though, hasn't it? mean, it's never been their biggest seller. Probably sales were declining, and certainly you're going back like 15 years now, aren't you? Probably more than 15 years when they were like in a real rut with what to do with that franchise. So I can understand that more. I bet they're not doing that with Mario and Mario Kart.
But even then, like Mario 3D World was an underperformer, and they almost pivoted straight back to this big open world sort of Mario-y, not an open world, but open area Mario games from the 64 era. They really went back, and it does feel. I think we sort of I think we put Nintendo on a slight pedestal. Like they're not. They don't.
But it is true. But it is true. It's not a myth. They don't hire from traditionally from inside the games industry. They hire from outside of the games industry. Famously, certainly in NCL, that if you look at, go and read Kez's book. It's very, very good in kind of explaining their creative kind of philosophy. That's why I say that they're toy makers, that they're engineers, and a lot of their famous creators are never had any video game experience at all, including Mr. Miyamoto. Whereas obviously they're, as you say, they're under pressure now to expand more than ever, to work with external developers more than ever, and they talk a lot about speaking to these developers and training them into no, this is the way how we think of making things. I don't know. Maybe it's just a lull. Maybe I'm just a middle-aged man who's. But it does seem like there's dozens of us, Chris. Dozens. When I speak to Keza, when I speak to Totillo, people like that, they kind of.
It's always older people though, and on the
but that's kind of okay as well, because when you're 7, things that are a bit shit are incredible.
Oh yeah,
that is a thing. Like I'm not.
What I mean by
I loved some absolute tripe.
Like, what I mean by that is I think of Naughty Dog. I think of the PS3 era, right? I worked on Naughty Dog stuff in the PS3 era, and Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3.
Drengo, just for your sake, clear up that I worked on Naughty Dog stuff.
I tested the first Uncharted game.
Good, because that would have get clipped for generations to come on Twitter. It's like, see, he's not just a PlayStation fan. He fucking voiced Ellie in the game, so I'm happy to.
I tested very briefly the first Uncharted game before joining MCB magazine, but as a result of it, I loved testing Uncharted, and I became a massive Naughty Dog fan. We're so far through this generation, Naughty Dog hasn't released anything, right? Some remasters, but they haven't done a thing. We're 5 years into the generation, 6 years nearly. And that's true of Nintendo. And so when I sit there and, you would bring up the Metacritic thing, and you're probably right. I haven't done the number crunching. But when you think Mario Tennis was a bit shit, but Mario Tennis is normally
Mario Tennis was always a bit shit.
Yeah, right. And Mario Kart isn't as good as we hoped it would be. But with the exception of 8, Mario Kart is often not as good as we hoped it would be. And I actually start thinking, when we compare like for like, when you compare, hey, Zelda team to Zelda team or Mario to Mario. I think that, but the thing is, it's been so long since we've had a Mario game. We've had 2 over the last generation. That's when, and I think what we're experiencing, it feels like the games that we love from the teams that we love making games, they're taking so long to make them. It does feel like we're not being served.
I mean, but the thing is, they have been making games, because a lot of these, like the Mario Kart team work on Splatoon. The 2D Mario team, I think, work on Pikmin as well.
And it's worth noting.
So we've had a Zelda in as we say, 2023. So I do think there's a lot of likely some truth into that throwing their cadence out of whack. That's just a sentiment for me, and I know there's a lot of breathless fanboyism around Nintendo online. So I'd love to know whether there are other kind of more grizzled, level-headed veterans have anything to say on this. But I just feel like certainly since 2023, the quality's not really been there.
I think more than anything, Nintendo needs to be expanding its teams. Because I get it, other companies, they can release a game once every 6 years now because of the way that these business models are set up. But I don't think that's true of Nintendo. And I think you think about the gap between Breath of the Wild. You think when Ocarina of Time was my first Zelda game, 1998. Then what? Majora's Mask was 2000. And then Wind Waker was 2003. And then Twilight Princess was 2006. Right? So the biggest gap here is I'm waiting 3 years. And then I think Skyward Sword was 2010. Then there was quite a big gap between Skyward Sword. Oh, was it? I don't remember. Then there was a relatively big gap because of the Wii U era. But then between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it was
6 years.
6 years. And you're thinking, it's when Breath of the Wild was finished, I was like, well, I've got to wait at least 6, probably 7 or 8 before I get another big 3D Zelda game. And these gaps are getting wider. And I think Nintendo need to be having high quality teams. Who can be doing things in between. It doesn't have to be another Zelda game. It doesn't have to be a Mario game, but something that is plugging those gaps. Pokopia came out of nowhere in a way, right? Because it wasn't a game that was in an existing franchise. We expect to do these things. I think that's what I'd like to see more from
Zeldopia, Mariopia. Just turn every game into one of those.
I think it could work. I'm actually loving Pokopia. I was thinking that I'd love to see some other takes on that.
I love how much you're into Pokopia. It's really a surprise. It's a surprise. I'm glad.
I'll show you my palette town.
Yeah. Have you been to the Wink Wink Island?
No.
There's someone has.
I told you I just stopped the story and just started.
No. I mean, someone has made a dream island where they've just laid out every item.
Oh yeah. I've got loads of stuff from that.
That would have been nice during the review period. Let me tell you.
That's like the dodgy fire stick of Pokopia.
Okay, we've not got time for a deep dive, but I have put up a mountain of Saros stuff this week because there are 2 video interviews with Gregory Loudon and Simone Silvestri, the director and art director, respectively. Go and check them out. They're a lot of fun. Simone Silvestri, the art director of the game, him and his brother were at the top of the Italian leaderboards for Dead Nation, a Housemarque zombie game from the PS3. So he's right where he needs to be. There's also gameplay on the YouTube channel, which is cracking. Similarly, there's Pokemon Champions gameplay and a brand new interview on the website. So lots to dig your teeth into. Yeah, good stuff. I can't wait for Saros. I obviously loved Returnal, so it's really not that surprising.
Returnal was I quite like the sound of Saros because Returnal was just a bit too punishing for me.
Saros it eases a lot of those pain points. It's like,
do you know, it's not probably not so much the fact that it's punishing. It's more the lack of perceived lack of progression. That really appeals to me. Yeah. That you are gaining something for your time, right? It's as if like every end of every day your Pokopia, was wiped. I'm not doing this. With roguelike Pokopia.
With Returnal, it was like, okay, the things you are gaining are like knowledge. It's like theoretical, whereas in Saros you can actually upgrade your character. You always start the next run with the weapon you died with. So if you die with a weapon you really, really like, you don't have to like, oh well, I'm going to bed, I'm not going to find that again. You can build that weapon up again. So all that stuff on the website now. Last couple of headlines. Switch 2 games in the US will soon cost more physically than digitally, just like us in the UK. Nugenix devs are teasing a Switch 2 and a PS5 version, and Konami is getting its own Picross game. Andy, Picross editor, excited about this?
Mate, what's a game?
Now,
none of that Nintendo tripe where they try to reinvent things. Just the same game, different pictures.
Now,
increasingly annoying music. Very quickly, Dringo, what's your take on them? On splitting the physical and digital prices in the US? There's a lot of debate where the messaging is, but you can tell when Nintendo says something that's clear as mud. They're falling over themselves. Physical price is not going up. Then why have you not explicitly said that you're introducing a digital price?
Because Nintendo are terrified of upsetting the regulators. Because they, after being sued by the EU all those years ago, they do not set retail prices. It's actually this is actually the conclusion to the Nintendo sales, right? You can talk about Switch 2, whether it'll outsell Switch 1 or not. I think it won't. It doesn't matter. If you look, do you want me to give you a stat? I'm going to give you an exclusive stat for your podcast.
Exclusive stat.
I'm going to write it up now.
You love a stat. So this is for the UK. So before someone shouts at me, I know it's not the whole fucking world, right? but Resident Evil Requiem, the week it came out in the UK, on the PlayStation 5, 35% of all the sales of Resident Evil Requiem on PS5 was sold in a box. On Xbox, 17.5% of Resident Evil Requiem was sold in the box. On Switch 2, 65% of Resident Evil Requiem sales was in a box. Switch 2 is a far bigger physical platform. Switch is just generally, Nintendo is big with physical. Now, physical fans love that, but Nintendo's bottom line does not, right? So, and you think the more they can drive people to the eShop, the more they don't have to give retailers they cut, the more they can take the cut themselves from third-party sales, the more they can, the more they have to manufacture physical goods. It's good for their bottom line. when you think about the pressures they're facing in the hardware sales, hardware with the cost of components, when you talk about the fact that, games are selling less generally, and the increased cost having to spend on making video games, this is a way for Nintendo to have a far more successful generation without selling 150 million consoles. It's simply getting more people to download their games and buy them physically. This is a measure for them to do that. Now, the question that's being asked on the internet is this a carrot? If you buy it digitally, you get it cheaper. Or is it a stick? If you buy it physically, you get it more expensive. That's the Twitter debate that I don't really care too much about. But
I'll be interested to know how long it'll be before they do a first-party game key card, right?
Well,
some similar excuse, because we've just seen it with Pokopia, right?
Well, Pokopia is an interesting one. It feels I'm taking a leap here, a bit like the 2023 Switch 2 was supposed to come out then. This is purely a theory. I feel Pokopia was an experiment.
Yep.
There's two things about this. One, it's the first Nintendo published game to have a key card for seemingly no reason. And the second reason why is it was so undersupplied at retail. And I'd love to say retailers choose. Retailers
forgot about that.
Retailers the one that put the orders in. But the Nintendo store sold out of Pokopia months before the game came out. We knew it was going to be in short supply. And if you look at the numbers, the physical retail numbers that I'm getting, they're tiny. And I think it was Nintendo's way of going, if we constrain the release of this, will people download it? And the answer was yes. So, and I think that's a good thing for Nintendo in terms of their margins. I actually think it's a better option than them raising the prices of everything and laying off staff or whatever. But that's what it feels. That's what it seems to me is Nintendo trying to grow its digital business. That's the key to their success this generation. It isn't whether they can sell 160 million consoles.
Well, before we go, by popular demand, it's time for the name of the game, the number one podcast quiz sweeping the internet. I will read a series of clues pertaining to the name of a video game after each clue.
Is it going to be a game that I would have heard of if you literally say it this week?
After each clue, each of our guests, Andy Robinson and Chris Dring, will get one guess. They can register a guess.
Is it Frogger Helmet Chaos?
You didn't say stop, so that doesn't count. Let's get started. This game was released on the PC, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 in North America on June the 9th, 2009. 2009. I was 14. Glory days. Any guesses off the bat here? 2009.
I'm not going to show my hand.
Dringo?
No. Was the Kinect out then? No, that wouldn't have been. It was multi-platform, wasn't it?
Fair enough. Yeah. The PlayStation 3 version of this game has a 79 on Metacritic. 79.
Oh, fucking hell, I don't know.
I wonder if anyone's going to get it after this. The game stars protagonist Alex Mercer. Any guesses? 2000.
Stop. Prototype?
That's the name of the game. Prototype is the name of the game. Andy gets it. The next clue would have been developed by Radical Entertainment. And the final clue would have been, it was published by Activision.
On a Tuesday.
It was in a box. It was on a disc. Prototype there. The Prototype and Infamous Wars, very much the Blur versus Oasis of 2009.
Man, that's a real retro console now, isn't it? Like, because in those days, right? Little inside baseball. Obviously, you couldn't buy digital games until PS4 gen, right? They like that gen. They had full premium.
Yeah, there was a couple on PS3, but not lots. Yeah,
no, they were like the digital games were like Xbox Live Arcade and PSN. They were the smaller indie games, right? So you couldn't buy full games until that next gen. So everything pre PS4, they would have to send press physical codes, like for review and preview and stuff like that. So we used to have dev kits, and they'd send us. I've got discs. Which I actually haven't got them because legally I'm not supposed to have them. If anyone's listening, I've got discs with pictures of the review codes on them. But yeah. So you just physically get sent stuff, right? So you remember these, like the physical game. They'd have like
the red and white ones,
have watermarks on them. Yeah. So the PlayStation ones would be jewel cases that with like special discs, promo copy, not resale, and the Xbox 360 ones would have a big yellow strip across them.
Yeah, slightly faded.
I have got boxes and boxes of Xbox 360 games. Like a lot of them are sealed as well, like these promo copies. boxes and boxes and boxes. And I was going through them recently. I think I was probably grabbing. I went to see Greg Miles last year, so I was getting my rare stuff out for him to sign. And it was a real reminder of like what an eclectic lineup of AA stuff was in that era, right? It's games I don't even remember. How many James Bond games came out like in that era?
It was so much better back in the day, wasn't it?
Everything was better.
It was when
Nintendo used to try.
When you used to be able to, oh God, I hated the Wii.
I was going to say, actually, maybe not.
But it was. I didn't hate it. Didn't hate it as much as the Wii U. But just those.
You hate the Wii U?
I can't understand people who like the Wii U. There's about 4 good games.
Revisionist history.
No, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. I'd say there's a good couple of like genuine 10 out of 10 Nintendo games on that console. Vindicated by the fact they were ported to Switch.
Zombie U.
50 million copies.
Zombie U.
Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is a 10 out of 10.
That's very
Mario Kart 8 is a 10 out of 10.
3D World is a 10 out of 10. It was when they fixed the battle mode for the Switch versions, yeah. 3D World, is my least favourite 3D Mario game.
I know this, but we're discounting your opinion. That's one of my favourites.
But Pikmin 3 was too short.
What a great game.
Pikmins are usually quite short, to be fair.
Pikmin 3 it's really short.
Very short.
Yeah.
But
Tiny.
Pikmin 3 was the first big game they released on that platform. And the problem with this Wii U, there is good games on the Wii U, but we're talking about 4 years and you named 3 games. And I just have to go, that's shit.
I think.
No, but we've changed the conversation. There's no good games on there.
No, I didn't say there were no good games. I said it was shit.
We'll rewind it.
By all means, the Wii U, there are good games on the Wii U. Obviously, there's good games on all the machines. It's just overall, it was just a lackluster machine, and the controller was rubbish. But
I've got really good memories of that machine. I think it was poorly positioned. I had lunch with the Nintendo UK's managing director, the former Nintendo UK managing director, recently, and he said it just didn't give consumers like a proposition of something new. Yeah. He was more kind that it just seemed like the same thing. So, keeping in mind that Breath of the Wild was on Wii U as well, by the way.
And that game's pash.
Splatoon is a Wii U game. Completely forgot about that. Smash Bros. Wii U is like the definitive. These are all these games are like the 1.5 version put on Switch and sell 50 million copies, right? Bayonetta 2 was on there. Mario Maker, the original Mario Maker. Like, there's some amazing games on Wii U. Keeping in mind that it was only really going for about 2 years. It was badly positioned. It didn't really work. It didn't really work either. They kind of gave up after the launch and went, we'll just use the gamepad as an off-screen play thing rather than asymmetric. We don't talk
enough about how Nintendo's novelties for each consoles, most of the time, nobody gives a shit off immediately. Like, there's even the Switch 2.
How many times have you used a mouse?
How many? That isn't even the novelty for Switch 2. The novelty was the camera.
We're recording this on Game Chat, so that's a bit unfair. I'm using Game Chat every night.
Game Chat was supposed to be the thing, and no one talks about it.
It doesn't work.
I found my Switch 2 camera the other day still in its box and thought,
mine's
I don't remember. I never remember that I have this. I only just started using the bloody GameCube controller.
It doesn't work. It's so annoying. Like, my kids are super into that, like giving it a go, but they go into different rooms and they play. The camera doesn't even work. It's crap.
Yeah. Well, I think 90 minutes into a podcast is the perfect time to reel it to get the Wii U.
By the way, nobody's speaking of Wii U, by the way. Wii U worked on that because I used to, Mike Jackson, when my old colleague Mike Jackson moved to the States, we used to sit and just spend a whole Friday night
waiting for it to load.
Because video chat in those days is like, no, but that's Skype. Not true. It's like video chat in those days was like novel, right? Like Skype, yeah. We'd sit and chat on that and drink like on a Friday, and you could take him in the kitchen with you to make a new drink, like take the gamepad with you. You could show him stuff, like be like, hey, look at this, and
look at how bloody my kitchen is.
That's the last time Nintendo put personality into its UI as well, by the way.
Yeah. The Miiverse was fantastic, just to wait 400 years for it to actually load up.
It's not true.
Well, it was a very slow machine though. It was very slow.
The Switch Miiverse loads really fucking quick, mate.
I think we can all agree the Wii U.
I don't have to load into it to get into the game.
The Wii U
because it doesn't exist. That's the joke.
Than the Xbox One. Everyone can agree. Incidentally, I picked up an Xbox One X not that long ago. That thing is dense. That's like the densest. If I was going to be shot and someone said hold a console in front of you to save yourself, Xbox One X feels like there's a layer of lead in that thing.
By the way, bring back Snap as well.
Snap was shite.
It's great.
Everyone has
but you would say
everyone has a phone. You can just look at the thing on your phone.
But everyone didn't have a phone. But you couldn't do that then.
Yeah, but there's no point bringing things back that solved a problem in the fucking olden days that are not a problem now.
We're not in a court of law. I'm not literally going, bring it back right now.
Oh, I'm just sad because I had a pre-order on that Sony Afila car and now they've cancelled it. I was looking forward to playing Astrobot while I crashed into a school. Thank you very much for watching / listening. You can support the #1 Wii U podcast on the internet at patreon.com/video games chronicle. You can also support Chris Dring by sending him $5 to the following address. Chris?
I'm not going to give my address on the podcast.
You thought about it for a second.
Well, how do I answer this?
PO box.
Gamebusiness.com.
Thegamebusiness.com. Andy, did you buy that stupid Zelda statue? Did you get it working or what happened?
No.
Well,
no.
Sad.
Yeah, first for figures, your website doesn't work.
Yeah, first for figures.
For people in Britain.
Please contact us and Andy will send you the pound coins for what I assume was a very, very expensive looking Wind Waker statue. We'll be back.
I don't even need it.
Next week with lots of fun stuff. Now that a lot of embargoes went up this week, so next week's looking a little bit quieter. Oh, no, in fact, next week, you want to be on this website next week. Let me tell you something, brother. You want to be on this website.
I don't even know what you're on about.
Yes, you do.
I don't.
You want to be on this website next week because it's... We'll see you then. Until then, say goodbye, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Say goodbye, Andy.
See ya.
Patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle, and we'll see you next time.